Hello, welcome back to Meet the Higdons, the show where we navigate the challenges of marriage, money, and meaning so you can have the best life possible. Today, we're going to be covering a topic called Get Upset. It's the number one rule from our book, our new book, which is coming out with Hay House this month. We're super excited.
It's rule number one. It's not necessarily the number one rule. Like that makes it sound like it's the best rule ever. No, it's just rule number one.
Okay, rule number one from our new book, Get Upset. And some of you may be sitting there thinking, what in the world? Get upset? What are they talking about? Get upset? Well, we're going to cover that, but
I thought I'm supposed to chill.
Yeah, I thought I was supposed to chill. Well, back in around 2008, most of you know Ray's story, but he was in foreclosure. The real estate crash had crumbled all around him. And fast forward to today with the company that we work together, the Thehigdon Group, we were featured in Inc. 5000. We've done over just around 25 million in sales, and we have been featured on stages with Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Rachel Hollis. It's really, really exciting. And you may be wondering, okay, how did you guys do that? And there's nothing special about us. There's no special skill that we have, no outside funding that we got. We didn't come from some super duper wealthy trust fund. The way that we got there is what we talk about in our new book, Time, Money, Freedom. And so that is coming out November 17th. However, you can pre-order it today at higdongroup.com/bonuses. You can check out the bonuses we have for bulk orders. They're amazing. And also you can get it on Amazon. So we're super excited about that. And for the pre-sale, we do have bonuses. But today we wanted to start off a series around this book and around the rules that we followed to create that company. Many of you may be thinking, well, I don't know how to do that. What in the world did you guys do? I don't know if I could ever do that. And the answer is absolutely you can. We, as I mentioned, started from the very bottom, no special skills, nothing special about us, and created that type of wealth and prestige, if you will. Prestige. So we want to cover rule number one today of the series, which is Get Upset, and give you some highlights.
Yeah, we were going to call the company Prestige Worldwide, but apparently that's already taken. So we went with Thehigdon Group. And so one thing to point out too is, sometimes people say, well, you don't understand, I'm in debt. I'm $30,000 in debt. Well, just to give you a picture of what it was like back then, I was literally over $1 million in debt. And, because I'd over-leveraged real estate, over-leveraged my personal home, and, that's what led me into personal foreclosure, etc. And, really the get upset thing, I can trace back to a lot of the biggest decisions that, that led me to the best things in my life, at least. And so I think that get upset is a great rule number one.
So let's talk about that. Get upset. What does that mean, Ray? Like, what does that mean to you to get upset from the rule? And then I'll cover what it means to me. But it is a very important thing to start off your journey, if you will, to time, money, and freedom.
Well, I think a lot of people aren't happy with the results in their life or how their life is going, and they just kind of deal with it. So I think there's two levels that really pertain to me. Number one, just looking at your life and the results in your life and saying, man, I could do better than this. Man, things could be better. I don't have to settle. And then the second type, and so how that happened for me is one example would be, I'm in a pretty high pay salary at an insurance company, and I'm, working hard, and the harder I work, the more they would pay me, but the more they would demand of me. And I just realized that there was no freedom in that. And I'm certainly not a job basher, but for me, there was not the freedom I wanted. I wanted to spend more time with the family, not less, and also wanted to make more money. And so those were options not really available to me. So I got upset and said, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. The second part, which may relate to you listening here, but the second part was I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so after the real estate crash, and I'm, dead broke, personal foreclosure, $1 million in debt, deeply depressed, drinking heavily, feeling like a loser, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I got upset. And anger is actually a higher vibration than depression. And we talk about that in the book.
And one thing that we also talk about is, how many of you as a kid heard when you were in preschool the words, you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? And that translates into so many areas of our life for decades until we're adults, and we just accept where we are and we say, okay, this is what we got, this is what we've been dealt, and we don't get upset. Well, that can be a really harmful way to think. I remember being at the makeup counter and seeing these women who I worked at a makeup counter with 25 other women. I'm sure some of you know my story there. And it was great at times, but oftentimes it was not, because it was like a complaint factory. And I saw these women who had been there for 10 years and complained every single day and never did anything about it because they just didn't get pissed off enough, frankly, to do something about it and to leave. And
that's an important distinction. We're not saying just be upset all the time. Like that's pointless. We're saying, hey, if you're get upset, but do something about it. And I think that's a big distinction.
Absolutely. So when I was working there, I was a hard worker, and I did an event for the store, for the makeup department, and I brought in all my top clients. I brought in like 50 top clients from that I had done makeup for. And it brought the store a lot of revenue. I shared out those commissions. I didn't even get all those commissions, in hopes that I would maybe be up for a promotion, or they'd at least recognize me in some way. Well, the following week, I got a terrible, terrible review because I had been late a couple Tuesdays before. Just one time, maybe 5 minutes late. And I realize now that it was the boss trying to undermine me because he was worried I was going to take over his job. But at the time, it was devastating, and I got upset. I got so angry at the situation that I said, you know what? Screw this. I'm worth more than this, and decided to pursue a home business. And the crazy thing is, I went back years later to that same makeup counter, and all of the people, I would say 95% of the women who had complained that entire time that I was there were still there doing the same exact thing, complaining every day. I'd ask them, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. How's it going? Oh, it's still crazy here. I'm still working too many hours, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't do anything about it. So if you don't get upset at the way your life currently is, then how are you going to change it? And that doesn't mean you stay there, like Ray said. You don't get upset and wallow in your anger. But you have to have a trigger that forces you to do at least the next step towards getting where you want to go.
So I got two quotes.
Two quotes. Prestige, worldwide, wide. For those of you who don't know, that's a Step Brothers reference.
Yes,
just saying.
Yes.
Shout out to the movie.
Yes. And so two quotes, both very favorite ones of mine. One is Albert Camus. I think I'm saying that right. And it is, in the depths of winter, I found an invincible summer. And so that means, in my misery, in the obstacles, in the things in my life I didn't want, I found that I could do much greater things. The second one is by Maureen Dowd, and she says, the minute you settle for less than you deserve less than what you settled for. Sorry, I said that wrong. Let me say it again. The minute you settle for less than you deserve, you're worth less than what you settled for.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful. And how many people settle for low pay, being passed over for raises or advances, having terrible reviews, having the significant other that doesn't respect them or appreciate or acknowledge them? How many people settle? And so we'd rather see you get upset and do something about it.
Absolutely. So I think a good action step for today's podcast would be to think about the things in your life that you're not going to tolerate anymore and write them down and throw it away. Write them down on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it away. And look at, okay, what is the first step towards that new life that I'm going to create? What are you not going to settle for? What are you going to get upset about right now, today, that it's in your life, you're not going to tolerate it? So we are really excited again about this book, Time, Money, Freedom. We think that it's so needed in times like this, especially. And so if you want to get your hands on that book, you can go to thehigdongroup.com/bonuses. Check out the amazing bonuses that we have for you just for pre-sale. So make sure you check that out before those go away. And also, next time on the podcast, we'll be talking about plucking your weeds, which is rule number 2. So if today helped you...
And that's rule number 2, not the second best rule.
The second best rule in life.
No, rule
ever.
number 2. Rule number 2.
In the world.
And I just want to point out, we didn't tell you the subheadline of the book. The book is Time, Money, Freedom: 10 Simple Rules to Redefine What's Possible and Radically Reshape Your Life. So we're going to do a podcast for each rule, kind of introducing you to it and warming you up to it. And so if you'd like to follow along, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends about it, maybe run billboards in your local area. Okay, all right, maybe that's a little much, but you can if you want to. We would not stop that. But we certainly appreciate you, Jess.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to the Meet the Thehigdons podcast, the show where we navigate the challenges of marriage, money, and meaning so you can have the best life and relationships possible. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening.